All right, so this is a restream of what was recorded to Leak Project last night. That was streamed for the first 2 hours of the basically 5-hour weekend at BurnEye as I did yesterday. The first 2 hours were crap on YouTube, but they were excellent over on Leak Project. So I'm going to play it and yeah, we'll re-record it and hope you enjoy.
And souls that aren't as beautiful. You're working on it. We know you are.
The perfection of the alchemist, right? The philosopher's stone, the transmutation of both the soul and the physical.
See, man, that's so kind of you. Super optimistic. And you know what? All souls, I think, at the primordial level are beautiful. And we have Michael with us. And Michael, I've had an opportunity to speak with you once before. Please shout out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's Faraday Research R&D, and I'm on YouTube there, and you can check out all the energy videos that I do. I touch on basically all the stuff that people have been working on over the last 25, 30 years and re-engineering it and building it for myself and see if it's actually real or not real. So
that's great. We need that. Yeah, like all these free, dude, I got free energy. Really, man, you should look it up. And then, you know, where is it? You got free energy, you can power your house. Like, yeah, man, I have a, how do I put this? A little bit of an irk with this guy one time. Came on my show several years ago, came on Leak Project several years ago, and he's like, yeah, free energy device. Da, 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 da. And then when you started asking like questions about how it worked and, you know, what kind of energy is it bringing, it just got really vague and really wishy-washy. So I like that. You know, I mean, that's important, right? Doing the research, finding out if it's legit or not. And
Mike actually builds them. That's the thing, right? Is that he will take these people's models and then build a recreation of it himself and then test it. And it's I don't know if you have anything set up tonight, Mike, to share maybe by the time it's done. But we'll share one or two of your previous videos of a couple of the devices you made by the end of it.
Cool. Yeah. And also Bernie, the mad alchemist, but he's really happy. And
right? It took me like 3 times to read that over on the title of our last video before I got it. I'm like, what does he mean? I'm really happy that I'm like, I had to smoke a joint to be able to get the humor, the potheads.
Well, touche, bro. Touche. So yeah, like you're gonna Bernie the Alchemist on now. What is your YouTube channel? Because I want people to subscribe to you on YouTube as well if they haven't heard of you before, but I'm sure many of them have.
Oops. So my first channel was Bernard Conkin that I was doing with you for the first year and a half, but then YouTube banned it, claimed I did pornography because I was attacked by bots. So they took that away, and now my backup new channel is Crypto Alchemist on YouTube. So for people that wonder what happened to Bernard Conkin, it was somehow I was attacked by porn bots in the live chat that got into the live stream connection, and some guy, I guess, flashed porno for all of 5 seconds before I was able to delete them. And in a 48-hour stream, that 5 seconds got my channel taken down. So I never make that mistake anymore. And yeah, it was sad. But Crypto Alchemist, it's now up to 1,100 subscribers. So thank you all, and try to put out some useful content for all of you.
Moral of the story, don't click on the link in the spam bot chat. And yeah, make sure you know who's sharing the video.
The spam bot clicked on my link and then got in, and they actually went as far as imitating one of our regulars' names for me to let him into the live stream in the StreamYard, because I thought it was like one of our regular guys, only for it to then be the guy that was operating those attack bots. And yeah, it's just sabotaged me. It was crazy, but
wicked.
Persevere.
Wicked. Well, hey man, we're at Leak Project now, unedited, uncensored, and no spam bots. And let's talk about it, man. I'm going to give you an open platform, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. So what are we calling this show? Weekend at BurnEye?
Weekend at BurnEye. Weekend at BurnEye, right? Because we love it. That was like, I think that was the first sentence you ever said to me the first time we met over Zoom was, BurnEye, Weekend at BurnEye. So
yeah,
now it has come full circle.
Nice, dude. Super cool. Well, the platform is
Okay.
yours for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rex. We'll see you in a little bit. So we'll go for a few hours tonight, I think. First, though, Mike, since you're here with us and it's getting late in Toronto, do you want to tell the people a bit of what you do? Because this is essentially a new community. Give a bit of your backstory and then some of the projects you've been working on. You have a structured water machine that you actively use and drink water of, put signals into a bunch of other things. I'll let you fully describe, and maybe if you can show it off. If you're on.
Yeah, I've been working on that for the last couple of years. It was introduced to me by a friend of mine that's been probably working on this stuff over 20 years, and he just got validated the water at a university here in Toronto, and they found quite a few anomalies with the water, natural healing properties of this water. So yeah, so I kind of reproduced the same machine he had. Mine's a little bit different. His was a lot larger than what I had. And so I built the machine. I've been running it for well over a year now. And I drink the water, and it's helped me out in quite a few ways. So yeah, that's just kind of one of my pet projects that I've been working on. Also, I introduced the Rife machine into it. So I got a couple of transducers in the device that I'm pumping in 432 hertz, which kind of reprograms the, I guess you could say almost like the algorithm of the actual water itself, because water has memory type properties to it. So yeah, it really changes the water. Like I had a lot, before I had this machine, I had a lot of stomach problems, almost like borderline Crohn's. So after I started using the water for a few months, I noticed my symptoms of Crohn's started to disappear. And I've been using the water ever since. I don't have problems with, my gastrointestinal problems. I don't have any problems with that. And I just overall feel better now at 50 than I did at 30. So
isn't that amazing, right?
Yeah.
We're those backyard scientists that are guinea pigging on ourselves first with these different types of colloidal waters, the monoatomics and the structured water. And you do look a lot healthier even right now than a few months ago, brother. And you've also since started putting more signals into it, where before it was just magnetic and flow, the vortex flow that you had starting out with it.
Yeah.
And like, then now you put signals, frequencies into it as well.
Right. See, the first thing, if anybody's interested in this water, start doing some back research on Victor Schauberger. He was studying the flow of water. He was also working on anti-gravity devices, but he was also working on how water flows in nature. All right. And what are those properties? What happens to the water? And he studied this for years and years and realized the vortex, when you have like that tornado effect in the water, there's some real key biological changes that take place in this water. And he refers it is called water implosion. When you implode the water, it changes the biology of the water. The other thing too was the water
structured coherence, I believe is what they call it. Quantum coherence, structured quantum coherence.
Exactly. So the other component of it too is also the water flowing through the rocks, through the streams and rivers. Those rocks have magnetic properties. And what the magnetic properties of the rocks, basically the water can absorb electromagnetic frequencies. Like we're in a storm of this electromagnetic interference. I'll get into that a little bit more, but with the water, what happens is it retains that frequency in the water. It absorbs it like a sponge. So when it starts flowing through the rocks, through the streams, and through the rivers, it neutralizes it in the rocks. The rocks have a natural earth frequency that brings that water back to a coherence of a natural coherence with the earth. So I actually seen a couple experiments where
you're putting the Schumann resonance into it, correct? The 432 hertz as one of them?
Yeah, well, it's the earth rocks and the stones that are in the rivers neutralizes the transient parasitic waves that are in the water. So it has to do a neutralization first. Then after that, you have to implode the water with the vortex. All right. Now we've taken a step further with the machines that we built, which we used Royal Rife. He developed these frequencies that he could actually use to change the biology of the water to give health effects in the water. So 432 hertz seems to be a very key frequency that is used in this water for overall good health. There are many different frequencies on the chart for different ailments, say like lung disease or gastrointestinal problems or certain type of cancers. There's a frequency for every single ailment. And I think right now there's over 200 different frequencies for different health ailments. So the list is getting bigger and bigger because people are experimenting with these frequencies and basically infusing that or reprogramming, I like to call it, reprogramming to water to hold this frequency. And when you make that water with that frequency and you bring it into your body now reacts to this. So yeah, it's definitely a science that's been going on for quite some time. Dan Winters, he's another guy that's really studied this quite a bit.
Absolutely. So, and Rex, if you're listening right now, and the next time you have Dan Winters booked for your channel, as I know you've had him on at least once, if not a few times, we have a list of questions that we would love to rack his brain with. And I'll let Mike continue.
I'll see if I can get him back on. Yeah, he was a great interview. Very
is, right? And there's so much in his multiverse that it's like he packs so much into it that we'll try, if you can, before you approach him, Rex, we'll put together maybe 2 or 3 options of like chapters of specific topics and then according questions to send him ahead of time. And I'm sure that he would love it because we've both, myself and Mike, have obviously been following his research for a long time, and it corresponds with our own on so many parallels.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it's okay. So anyways, right now I'm in the process of putting together a smaller version of my machine for a friend of mine that lives not too far from me. He's right into ancient the pyramids and what they were actually intended use was. So he's right into the ancient tech. And he found out about my water machine, got a hold of me, and lo and behold, he lived 1 town away from me. Nice. So we met up, and now we became pretty good friends. We're actually tomorrow we're meeting up at this electronics surplus store in Toronto tomorrow, which is my my little paradise. And we're going to look for some components for the new build. I got most of the stuff right now for his machine. I'm getting some components that I'm going to be doing for the new motor build, which we can talk about tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't mind tomorrow, maybe text me before you're at that shop, because we've been planning and I need a full parts list myself to make, but why we haven't fully done it is now you're downsizing or scaling it to a more practical use sort of thing for reproduction. Yeah. That I've got another friend that I've actually met off of YouTube that lives in the same city as me that wants to build one as well and whatnot. So we will be reproducing.
Yeah, so, right.
So, sorry, Mike, before you move on, you were saying this guy was vindicated a bit through the tests of this water. And before you had mentioned that some of this water had come out as it was 20% denser or heavier mass.
Yeah, it becomes a heavy water because regular water is H2O. And my friend of mine that introduced me to this water system, he found out this water is actually H3O2. So the genetic makeup of the water has actually been altered. It's a heavier water, so you can really notice, like if you take spring water, 2 cups, but one with spring water and one with the structured water, you take a sip of both, you can tell a real distinctive difference between the 2 waters. Now, I might add with the structured water, it's also very good for feeding crops, and you don't need as much water. You can effectively hydrate and irrigate your gardens with a lot less of structured water than you do regular water. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of that myself too, and I'm starting to do some controlled experiments where my I guess it's colloidal water, right? Colloidal silver, it's about 15 to 20 parts per million of silver within the water. But mine is much stronger because I have the pure monoatomic silver and gold. But essentially, it's structured water / colloidal plasma water of silver and gold that I'm going to start using in controlled experiments, even out in the vegetable garden. 1 line of lettuce, regular hose water, 1 line of the colloidal waters. And I've seen the Keshi Foundation do a lot with their structured waters and testing it for agriculture. There's one guy, Vancouver Island Ormus, I believe, out on the BC west coast of Canada, that's been growing using the structured water for a long time.
There's a big difference, huge difference in the size of the crop. The fruits and vegetables are a lot more lush, they're a lot juicier and a lot larger, about 20 to 30% larger. So obviously
there's some that they're getting and claiming results 2 to 3 times in size, but that's with advanced mixtures of different mono or ditriatomic nitrogens with like all of the different metals and nutrients and stuff like that. But
I know there's
trials.
I know there's a large farm in Australia, and he's been using the structured water for quite some time now, and he's shown some real dramatic increases in crop sizes and quality. The quality of the products way better, way healthier. And I actually seen the video where they were doing some taste testing of banana peppers and the potency. And the potency of these banana peppers were like way more spicy than your average, banana pepper, because of the structured water used to grow them. Not to mention that the banana pepper was twice the size. They grew them at the same time in a controlled test. 2 of the same, one had structured water, one didn't. And
exactly, actual controlled scientific methods and tests.
Yeah, because he had to test it. He had to really find out if this was actually real. And lo and behold, it was. So he's been using the structured water ever since.
Yeah, myself, I've noticed, but I haven't done it in a controlled method, so I don't claim it. But just from keeping my own colloidal plasma water in the fridge, a jug of it, it seems that the vegetables food lasts about 2 to 3 times as long before it starts to go bad or grow mold. And vegetables that would be like a week or 2 usually are lasting 1.5 to 2 months before they even start to go bad.
Right. I'm going to show the machine here in a second. Oh, that's got the right machine. That should
perfect. So you guys can all see what we're talking about.
My right machine actually got shut off. I forgot the other day we had a power outage, and I forgot to reset the machine. But it's a little better because it's not so noisy. Here, I'll just show you here.
Hopefully, by the end of the summer, we should have it set up where that'll no longer be an issue because the generators will be keeping the power supply going.
So there it is there. And I don't know if you can see the vortex spinning.
Absolutely. The black hole right in the middle, what looks like a shadow, that is the vortex. Yeah, there we go. I can see it go all the way down to the center of the.
See that? So that's the machine there. I used like a brewer's can and modified it, put the water purifier on it. The piezo transducers and the coil are on the side of it. And below it's all the pump, and I got the magnets set up there. So, basically neutralizing the water so I can use high-powered neodymiums. And yeah, so I have to reset the right machine because it got shut off. We had a power outage here. So I have to do that. These are all my experiments here. Got my 3D printer and all that, all my gear, and I got this big cabinet. I got stuff everywhere. So I got my, that's the Gerard Morin setup back here. I got that all built. Then I have the Don Smith device that's under this mess. So yeah, I got a lot going on here. So yeah, definitely got a lot going on. A lot of
Sorry about that. I was
experiments.
just responding to a question in the leakproject.com live chat there. So it was and I will ask the question to you for the
Sure.
audience in case I was wrong. Is it still water if it's the, like you were saying, it changes it to heavy water? Is it still technically water if it's no longer H2O chemical composition? And then I said, I believe so, because heavy water is just an extra neutron, correct? So it's a different type of water, or is it actually nitrogen or different?
Well, okay, so H2O, so you got hydrogen and 2 oxygen. So in this water, it's H3O2. So that means there's an extra oxygen molecule in the water now. With extra oxygen, it obviously has now changed the genetic makeup of the water. So it's more dense water. That's the best way to describe it. It's more dense. So I figure it's about 15 to 20% more dense than your regular tap water would be. Like when you drink it, you know right away it's structured water just by the feel in your mouth. It's that distinctive, right?
And another thing with my own electrolysis cold fusion experiments, where there's definitely heavy water being produced off of the reactions and stuff, there's what are called EZ zones, exclusion zones, and it's where there's different layers of water within the actual container that some have particles or the monoatomic plasmoids floating within them, and then immediately above it, it's completely clear water with nothing in it.
Yeah.
And then there's a different type of above it, and then it seems like there's also different types of water densities separated between them. And from, I believe it's Jared Pollock's work out of I think Washington University, or the state of Washington, Seattle, somewhere around there, I believe. But Jared Pollock, he does this exclusion zone research and field, and that they've actually found that the water molecules themselves, there's separate into positive ions and charges within certain parts of the exclusion zones, and then negative charged isotope ions in other parts, where the water is literally turning itself into these separated charged batteries all on their own.
I've had at times had structured water where I drank quite a bit of it that day. Like I would take it with work to me. I would put it in a water bottle and take it to work with me and just drink that through the night. And one night, out of the blue, I work in machine shops. It's pretty, it can be dry, and stuff like that. So I had to go to the washroom. I had to wash my hands. I was going to eat. I turned the tap on, and the second I touched the tap water, I got zapped out of nowhere. I've never been shocked by water before. And I'm like, did that just come from the water? Because I've wash my hands every day. I never get shocked. And then this one particular night, I turned the tap on at work and I put my hands under the water. Boom, I got zapped. I'm like, what's going on here? I was kind of floored on. I actually got an electric shock from water. I didn't know that was even possible, unless if electrical lines touching the water main or something like that, that I could actually get a shock. Because usually, when they build a house or a company or whatever, they put a grounding strap that grounds the waterway so you don't get electrical shocks through the water. But lo and behold, that night I got shocked. So, yeah, it was a very strange event that happened. But yeah, I've heard from many people that the water actually starts holding electrical charge, an electrostatic charge. The new water device I'm making for my friend, we're actually going to take it to another level. So we're also going to incorporate the technology that Wilhelm Reich was doing. We're going to make it into also not only a structured water device, it's also going to be an orgone generator. Now, I also found out one of the byproducts of where orgone is present, there's static electricity present. I can't hear you, Bernie. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, please continue, Mike. My computer was disconnected there for a sec, so I'm just reconnecting everything because I'm also streaming on my channel. We're in Zoom, leakproject.com, and then I'm also trying to load all the comments off of each of them, so that is why it's a little choppy, guys. Sorry. For the next one, I'll have it actually connected properly to Ethernet. But continue with what you're doing, Mike.
Yeah, so we're taking this water generator to the next level. We're gonna make it into orgone generator. So we're gonna get the components for that, and we're gonna layer the outside of the tank with the insulators, cotton and steel wool. We're gonna do several layers of that, basically to cover the entire tank. And over a period of several weeks, we're now going to accumulate orgone energy in the water. So that should be very interesting to start doing some actual tests with the effects on your body, consuming water.
That is super cool because I've got all sorts of orgone pyramids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so,
sorry, LCD meter, I guess, is the actual device or tool that measures the negative electricity and the energy. Is it electromagnetic?
LCR.
LCR, that's what it is.
I have one now. I got one. My friend that lives near me that we're going to the shop with, he actually purchased me an LCR meter there. So
perfect.
Yeah.
I've got mine in the mail from China, so it'll be a couple months. But just to fill everyone in, these LCR meters actually measure the electromagnetic frequencies that
it's resistance, inductance, and capacitance.
Okay.
So
they measure inductance, resistance, and capacitance of the energy, but supposedly we'll be able to actually measure the energy fields of these orgone devices where we can actually have scientific evidence and instruments showing energy and measuring energy from these orgone structures, technology, or proving if they don't work also, right? It could be either
orgone energy.
I definitely
you know what, orgone energy is real. I study a lot of writings and stuff that Eric Dollard's been working with, and he's been experimenting with Wilhelm Reich's works for quite a few years, and has actually proven that the orgone generators are actually real. He did an experiment. We talked about this on your show there last week. He made a box. So basically what an orgone generator is a capacitor, okay, that doesn't have the outer plate on it. Instead of having a plate on it, it's actually a combination of layers of steel wool and cotton, layer after layer, with a separator dielectric Some people do it 3 to 4 layers. Some people go crazy. They go 10 layers. But the inside chamber is steel. So what happens is all the orgone gets absorbed by all these layers of cotton and steel wool. It draws it towards the center of the box where the steel part is. The steel hollow box inside of it gets trapped and starts bouncing around inside this chamber and is locked there. So what they do is they get this stuff called flex. Most of it's made with aluminum. The one you should try to use is steel. If you can find steel flex, you drill a hole into the middle of the box, put the flex tube in there, and then you take the flex tube and you attach a funnel off the end so it's kind of fanned out like this. And what you do is you point it at your plants. So he built this box, put the funnel towards the plants in the garden. The plants turned away from the sun and faced into the orgone generator within about 30 minutes. They actually physically moved. So after that, he knew it was real.
That's intense.
In 30 minutes, a plant to actually move away from the sun and direct itself towards the orgone generator. He says after that, he said after
that's
that, I was
crazy.
convinced.
Away from the sun to the orgone generator. That is because I've seen, for those that might be skeptical, I have actually seen there's the One Stop Energy Group, Daniel Nunes on YouTube. They make a type of rodent coil, and they've shown experiments they've done where they run energy through their vortex coil with plants around it in complete darkness, and the plants still grow, and the plants grow larger and bigger the closer they are to the coil, and that they actually bend in and grow directly into the coil energy, these energy fields themselves. Thus, so essentially being a similar thing.
Right. So one of the biggest things that Wilhelm Reich discovered, see, those are those pyramids you can make with the material. But the big discovery that Wilhelm Reich made is he found out if there's electrostatic energy present, orgone is there.
You literally had took the words out of my mouth right before you said that. I was debating, do I say that I suspect that static electricity is the type of energy that orgone is using emitting? And
it's a conjugate. It's a conjugate of orgone. Yeah. So if you're making basically like a static generator, or you're creating any kind of electromagnetic field, and there's electrostatic properties involved, orgone is going to be present. Maybe not in huge quantities, but it's there. So these orgone accumulators or orgone capacitors, you could call them, or accumulators, what Eric Dollard refers them as, the proper name is an accumulator. And if you can trap this orgone in a box and direct it towards, say, a plant or even a person, you're going to get some pretty good effects off it. Actually, very helpful effects for your body and well-being, right? So, when
YouTube channels that have supposedly made these like orgone generating like chairs that heal, and they have like big types of Tesla coils and plasma coils and stuff all over them, but the channels have sadly since disappeared, but I've seen a few of them over the years, and they look pretty like
even like being in a closed area and you start to use an electrostatic properties, we're just beginning to find out there's actually some real weird anomalies that take place when you're in a small closed area with electrostatics. And one of the places I used to live at, I was doing a lot of experiments with my pulse motor, and I was doing more experiments with the Faraday disc, and I was getting some very, very interesting anomalies. And I moved to the new place, and all those anomalies disappeared. They weren't happening anymore. So basically, living in the environment I figured I was in some sort of electrostatic or electromagnetic Faraday cage. Those static properties were trapped between the walls where I lived in. And because of it, I was getting some weird anomalies that now I'm not really experiencing here at the new place I live. So there's a few stories I could tell you that will actually blow your mind on what people have done in the past, and actually outright scared the hell out of them. Some of the things that they were able to accomplish. I'll tell you one story that's actually quite fascinating. It still actually blows my mind every time I tell the story. There was the guy who's a YouTuber. He did an interview with an older fella that's in the free energy stuff, and he had a son, 3 sons, and the youngest son was a little bit eccentric. You know, he was different. He was definitely somebody that was very intuitive and liked to play around with stuff and do experiments and stuff. At this time, it was about the early 1990s. Lived in Anchorage, Alaska, and he had a steel, I guess, like a mobile home trailer, 30-footer, and him and his brother and his best friend, they just started to, you know, mess around with some transformers. So they pulled a transformer out of the, you know, the old CRTC screens, the big tube, screens that they used to have for computers back in the early 90s. This all was
Oh
before
yeah,
LCD.
you can get the good
Yeah.
tubes out of those bad boys.
Yeah, so he pulled the transformer out of this thing, and what he did was he grounded the transformer to the metal frame of his trailer. And he also had an antenna that came down through the ceiling, and he had a metal steel desk, like, you know, the ones that you saw back in school back in the 90s.
Oh, I
like
know the exact
the
type.
metal
I
ones,
had
the metal
a
ones.
busted one that was a drafting board, huge metal.
Right.
Just
So
so much.
So what he did was he got the table and he put tinfoil all over the table and got 3 big 4-liter jugs of water with salt in it. And he put the high voltage power in each of the 3 bottles. So they were like capacitors, the salt water capacitor. And from there, he grounded it to the metal frame of the table, the desk that he had. So, anyways, he decided after that to flip the switch on and see what would happen. So, lo and behold, you know, they heard some crackling and stuff, and the lights start to flicker a little bit because he had over 1,000 volts going through the frame of the RV, and walked outside and noticed that there was this blue glow corona forming around the whole RV. It had
Really, a big blue plasma field
corona.
around it.
Yeah, no, like just like sitting right on the edge of the actual frame, going all the way around this thing. It was glowing blue. So they went back inside and start messing around, doing a couple of experiments. And then he realized he was able to, with his mind, move the cursor on the screen with no mouse. And he goes, well, that kind of weirded him out a little bit. So they got paper clips and they got pencils on the table, and they were able to actually start moving the pencils and the paper clips on the table just using their power of their mind. So now they got these telekinesis type powers. They were able to move small objects on the table using their mind.
That's so.
So
Woo-woo as that may sound, I've actually heard of multiple other stories, mostly through the Keshe Foundation, but also Dan Winters actually goes deep into it. And it's that these plasma balls, plasma fields, that blue aura, those purple auras, it's a corona aura around a plasma field. Once you're in that, have that plasma field interaction or creation, that it simultaneously is telekinetic or connects through the mind. And there's many different stories of people having experiences of telepathic connection to plasmoid or plasma beings, orbs, energies, fields, etc.
Yeah, so to kind of add to the story, so after he saw that he could move the cursor on the computer screen using his mind, and then they were able to move pencils and paper clips and all that stuff on the table, they're really getting weirded out. They go, okay, we got to really put this thing to the test. Let's try to think of something that could naturally happen outside of here. Let's think of a really, really strong wind. Well, that night, Anchorage, Alaska suffered one of the worst windstorms on record. It did over $4 million in damages. Motorhomes were flipped over. A huge amount of damage happened the next morning. After this happened, he was so freaked out about it, he tore the device apart and never built it ever again. So obviously he was tapping into some realm.
Right. And Dan Winters, keeping him on topic, that is something, Rex, that we'll have to get you to bring up next time you have him on, is talking about he talks about the flame in the mind, and through your conscious flame, which is plasma being flame plasma. So your plasma in your mind, that some of the I forget which tribe of indigenous it was, but I believe there was one in Tibet and one in North America that he referenced, so 2 total, where the initiation of the shaman is to be able to like steer the winds or the tornadoes through this flame in the mind. They can also produce a physical flame from their mind, like and light a bonfire from it. Was one story.
That's where I found that scenario kind of similar to what I was doing, because I was in a confined area. So what they did was create electromagnetic ionic Faraday cage, and the power that held within it, I guess it charged every single electron and molecule inside that trailer, that basically enhanced the power of the mind, because our mind works on electrical impulses. And if you're in like a swimming pool full of electrons and energy, that's now interfacing with your mind. So having these telekinetic powers, being able to move objects on the table with your mind, and thinking of a powerful wind, and then the next morning there's this big disaster where you live, with a big windstorm. And that was kind of like the test that really blew him away and freaked him out. He was apparently really spooked out by this, actually terrified. If this kind of thing got into the wrong hands.
Sorry, Mike, I keep going. I just have to take a call. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Sure, yeah. So, that's what's dangerous about this device. If a device like this ever to get into the wrong hands, say, they get into the device and they start wishing that, say countries would get attacked, and then the next morning they get attacked. Like, this is like, can be used for evil. And I think that's what scared him the most. And that's why he tore this device apart, is because that's, sole reason of, something like this getting in the wrong hands. It could be used as a terrorist tool. So it was kind of ironic, that story. And I started listening to some podcasts with Eric Dollard, and he's talking about the grid, the power system, and how it's set up in the US, actually pretty much the same here in Canada, how it's designed. And basically, after all he was talking about everything that's wrong with it, he basically came to the conclusion that the power grid was designed as an electromagnetic terrorist device. Because if you got that amount of electromagnetic frequencies, transients, all these hyper oscillations and all this stuff in there, he says it is nothing but a giant terrorist tool. And he in the interview, he was discussing what you have to do to fix this. But
there's so much neglect to our electrical grid, hey? And
we've talked
in depth about how inefficient the type of electricity is, the grid is, the generation, how they move it. It's
actually dangerous to our health. Pretty much what he said. It's
poisonous frequencies.
Well, it's a lot of transient. It's 60 hertz. 60 hertz is not good for the body at all. That's why Tesla was working with high frequencies and was finding certain bands of high frequency were actually very helpful for the human body. Like me, I'm using 432 hertz in my water, and that's one of the best frequencies used in the human body for healing properties. So yeah, like see, Bernie's holding up these orgone generators. Yeah, if anybody's really interested, the best place to start with this, with the orgone generators, is Wilhelm Reich.
Exactly. Wilhelm Reich being the original inventor of the technology, and then
the bions.
And it was in what, the 50s, 60s, or
no, it was in the 40s. He goes
40s,
back to the 40s.
Even earlier. So quick demonstration for what's so crazy is that what I'm illustrating here with these 3 different orgonite pyramids is this third one it used to be the exact same response, and then I put it in with this, what I suspect is like some sort of mercury compound that is formed off of
There's a
part
heavy
of my
metal
alchemy and electrolysis, and that the structure was already made. I didn't add anything in. I just had it around it, and then afterwards, ever since. So this is a green laser going into them. It used to be green on this one too, but watch. So laser going through, it's green all the way. Green laser, you guys can see.
Yep.
Green laser all the way through. You guys can see.
Yep. We see it well. Yep.
Red. The laser turns red while going through, and then it's green outside afterwards. But this laser
so what's different? So what's different about that one?
It was exposed to this the copper when it turned into this red mercurial mercury form, as the Alchemist and Isaac Newton call it. And then I noticed that a little bit of the red actually somehow got inside of the resin, this already sealed epoxy of this pre-made orgonite generator, and I just noticed that it had that same, what looked like this mercury red monoatomic diatomic around it, and it seems to be somehow it got inside the bottom of this pyramid, and ever since this green laser is red as it goes through.
I think what you did was you transmutated it when you did that exposure to it.
Exactly.
Bernie, have you put it near plants?
These ones not since it was done, and not in the last couple of years. I've just had them in my lab. Plants are upstairs. I should do that.
Yeah, put it near a plant, or put it through a seedling, like right next to a seedling, and see what happens. Like do one control that's not near it, and put one with that pyramid right beside it. Put it actually in the pot. I'm really curious to see what would happen if it's drawing in orgone energy from the atmosphere. That should hyper accelerate the germination process of the seed. So that'd be kind of an interesting experiment to do. I'm sure you could probably break that up pretty fast.
Right, and it's that time of year in Canada. I know probably everywhere else in the Northern Hemisphere has already planted their gardens and started their seedlings, but here in Western Canada, it is finally spring, and time to get the gardens planted. Well, it's a little late. We planted in May, but it's early enough that I can still do it for this year. And
we've had a few days here where we had excessive 30-degree weather. So we're well on our way to getting a warm summer. So it's kind of ironic we're talking about this orgone stuff, because I've been working on energy devices probably for pushing 10 years straight, like all the time. I was doing experiments in 2005 with the Brown's gas hydrogen generators for the car. I was doing that back then. So that was kind of my first time I got my feet wet in this field. And I came back and I got into the the free energy devices. And it's kind of funny that I'm getting into this orgone stuff, because I'm starting to realize now that there's a lot of crisscrossing of free energy devices and Oregon and all these different forms of energy. They seem to have they're intermeshing with each other. There's relationships that are the same between, say, an Oregon generator versus a pulse motor versus a Don Smith spark gap generator.
Right, it's these
there's
type of energy that the radiant energies that they all seem to be drawing off of, and lots of it's plasma, but then some of it's 0 point, which can't really be explained under the current system, which then shows that it could be this ether dimensional, higher dimensional stuff. But
I'm starting,
for the plasma radiant stuff, that like the Oregon, it's static electricity, and it seems to be like that spark gap, the arc. It's anything that once you get that plasma state is able to absorb through an endothermic reaction, suck in that radiant energy around it and turn it into that usable current power. Correct?
I think, like, honestly, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that Oregon energy, electrostatic energy, longitudinal magnetodielectric energy, and all those energies are actually all of a conjugate of itself. Yes, even scalar too. I think Oregon energy is part of the scalar field. I think they're all interconnected, and I'm starting to find out there's many similarities. You know, it doesn't matter if it's my water machine or my pulse motor, my Adams motor generator, or the Don Smith device. It seems like these energies are now starting to show that they're very much interconnected with one another. We're just using certain parts of that energy to do certain things. So like the Don Smith, we're using the high voltage, high frequency power to create electricity that you can use for a house or charging batteries or whatever. And the Oregon is another energy force that has a lot of holistic value to it, you know, healing properties. And Tesla was working with longitudinal magnetodielectric or scalar waves, and he was finding out certain frequency bands were actually beneficial to the human body, but there's also frequencies that are out there that are also harmful to the body.
Absolutely.
So
can you say again what you called Tesla's specific?
Yeah, it's longitudinal magnetodielectric.
Okay, longitudinal magnetic dielectric, because
magneto,
that is more of a scientific
that's what Dollar calls it,
and understanding of what layman's terms was his cold electricity, or this cold current.
It's an impulse energy. So basically Tesla was making transmitters that could transmit energy at great distances with zero energy loss. It was instantaneous propagation between point A and point B. So he had this interview. He was doing a lecture with Chris Carson. This is back, I believe, just pre-2000 time period. And he was saying that it goes 296,000 whatever miles per second. And then somebody out in the crowd goes, but that's exceeding C, which means speed of light. And he goes, well, yes, it's exceeding C. And he goes, well, how's that possible? And he goes, well, according to the calculations of static electricity, propagation is 296,176 miles per second. And he goes, what's the limit? And Dollar looks at him with a funny face and goes, there is no limit, with a smile. So basically, it's instantaneous propagation between point A and point B with zero energy loss. That's what Tesla's fundamental
essentially
it's a quantum energy transfer to the highest order. C is nothing.
Michael Tellinger, actually, if you heard or seen Michael Tellinger's work, he's a researcher from South Africa, but he goes into showing or explaining that there's a type of sound wave. It might be the Sazer wave, or it might be a different type of sound wave, but it's shown to be simultaneously like throughout the universe at any time, like the quantum locked central sort of reaction, as opposed to the sound barrier slow, like Mach force sound barrier, as opposed to this other sound wave that seems to be faster, exponentially faster than the speed of light, as essentially quantum entangled. That's the word. Quantum entangled.
It was a false kind of you could say theory that Einstein put out, and Tesla did not like Einstein one bit. Tesla was a very, very nice European man with good manners. But the second you start talking about Einstein, he went nuts. He called him a fuzzy-haired freak, word for word. That's what he actually called him. Yeah. So if you have Nikola Tesla calling him that obviously means there are theories that, Einstein was putting out that totally go against everything that Faraday, J.J. Thomson, Maxwell, all these pioneers of electricity would just go crazy. Heaviside, same. They would go crazy over Einstein.
Walter Russell,
yeah. So, yeah, Einstein, he was put there to basically put the brick door in front of everybody from learning that electricity has these incredible, fascinating properties.
He was tasked essentially with writing out the fourth dimension, or connecting in
he denounced the
interstate and the old understanding that was a unified theory. And what a lot of people don't know, and that's been written out of history, is that Einstein was the head of the US Patent Office for a very long time, and there's actually several allegations of him plagiarizing, as well as censoring other
big time. He stole everything. He stole everything you can imagine. He stole heavy side, a lot of works on a heavy side. I believe even Maxwell, he was stealing some stuff off of him. To me, Einstein was the biggest fraud ever. Just look at his educational history background has got to tell you that. And then he becomes the smartest man on the planet? I don't think so. He is the biggest fraud in science history. And he was put there to put this line in the sand that nobody's allowed to cross. If you cross it, you're considered a kook. And the powers to be wanted this line in the sand so electrical engineering would not carry forward. After Steinmetz died, so did electrical engineering. He was the last guy that was able to put electrical engineering into simple algebraic mathematical equations that everybody can understand. And after he died, that was it. It was all Einstein after that. The lights that shine in my house right now, the transformers hanging on the poles outside, to Einstein, that was impossible. How is it not possible if it's working right now? It's powering our world. A physicist is electrical engineer's worst nightmare.
In our current Einsteinian freaking backwards realm, essentially.
Yeah. All electrical engineering died with Steinmetz. After Steinmetz was gone, that was it. It was done. By that time, Tesla was already out of the picture, became a total recluse because he was blackballed by all the Wall Street gangsters, J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers and the Bilderbergs and all those guys, and the chefs, and the list goes on. And they did what they could to write Tesla out of the history books. They couldn't totally write him out, but they greatly marginalized the stuff that he had and what he was doing. They pushed him out of the history books as much as possible. Like if you talk to an electrical engineer today that
Why
graduates,
it's called a Musk or why it's called a Tesla and not a Musk, because
Exactly.
they're doing everything they can to erase Nikola.
Yeah. See, if you ask an engineer today that went for electrical engineering technology, and you ask him one question, did they ever talk about Tesla and all the work that he did? 9 times out of 10, they'll probably say no. He's been written out of the books. He's been written out of the textbooks. He's been given no credit whatsoever for this stuff. But I think that's starting to change now. There's kind of been a Tesla renaissance happening. People are starting to
Absolutely
look into history. So it's good to see that.
Tech being a very good part of the community. And
but just but just like ordering a book online and picking up a book and reading it, with stuff written about Tesla. There's some good information out there. There's some bad information out there. But it's good to pick up a book and read every now and then, and read about Tesla because he was one of the founders of the world that we live in today. He didn't develop everything, but he greatly did change it. He did leave his mark. Yeah. I think I have the same book. Yeah, I think I do.
It's definitely a good one. And I have a few more as well. And it's like the conspiracy world has gotten so out there
it's mainstream now.
Mangled like metaverse that is our current dystopian reality, that there's half of the quote unquote woke people are claiming in alternative history, especially community I've seen say that Tesla didn't even exist, that he was a psyop. And it's just like face palm. Like before you make these sort of claims, how about just picking up a book and reading the person's own words before you write off some reality belief, or not writing off reality and a false belief that these pillars that were censored didn't even exist at all, because all of the knowledge is out there. It's just up to the individual to be a self-initiate.
Yeah, like, it goes even to the simplest question. Well, actually, it's not a simple question. You go to an electrical engineer and you ask them, okay, what is electricity? And the first thing they'll say is, oh, it's electrons flowing on a wire. Well, actually, you're wrong. If anybody tells you electrons is electricity, they're wrong. Electrons is not electricity. You need two components.
The atom Etonian model, or the particle what is it actually called?
Well, it was still J.J. Thomson. It was the guy who invented the electron, or found the electron. But the electron is actually the impurity in electricity. There's two components that make electricity: magnetism and dielectricity. You cannot have one without the other. You need those two components, then you get electricity. The electron is the third component that's attracted to the magnetism. Okay, so say like a transformer core. Okay, the magnetism or the magnetic field in a transformer amplifies, it transforms, it increases the magnetic field. When you increase the magnetic field, any electron that's in the air around it is now getting drawn into the transformer. So guess what happens? When the electron is introduced into the equation, guess what happens? Number one, you get a heat. Okay, get the heat in the wire.
Resistance and your giant waste of infrared electrical energy.
Well, you get a hysteresis. You get a hysteresis. So basically, the electron is the destructive element of electricity. It destroys electricity. That's why Nikola Tesla, all his coils did not have a metal core. They were air cores. So if you don't have, or very, very small amount of an electromagnetic field influence, well, guess what happens now? You have cold electricity. That's why I can touch a Tesla coil that puts out 11,000 volts and makes a spark almost 2 inches long and doesn't kill me. But if I were to put a metal core in that and do that with 11,000 volts in it, guess what? Fried chicken. I am fried. I am dead. It's because the magnetism has drawn all the electrons in it and makes the cold electricity now hot electricity, and that's the stuff that kills you. Make sense?
Exactly. The oh wow, amps, right? The heat,
Well, Tesla coils can generate up to 2,500 amps, but it won't kill you because you're using an air core. All right. I could, eventually, if you hold it there long enough, you'll get a RF burn, right? It'll start to burn your skin, but you won't die. You won't die. But as soon as you introduce a metal core to the situation, now you got the current. So you got 2,500 amps. Now you got a lot of electrons there. Guess what? Now you got a lethal weapon. What, you get shocked there?
I was demonstrating that burn, the arc that will form every time off the top of it. Let's see if we can show a better example.
You're pulling a me. You could do it more if you have a piece of tinfoil on your finger. You'll actually get a bigger arc.
Okay. Well, next time. Here we go.
Or anything metal, copper wire, whatever.
Oh yeah, I got a copper. So can you see that?
Yeah, it's too far away.
There. How about now?
Throwing an arc?
How about now? The purple. Can you see the purple arc? Oh, a little purple. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see it.
And if I wasn't holding this copper coil capacitor and touching my finger to that copper wire instead, it would be burning a massive black hole arc through my
skin. If you hold it long enough. The initial.
Oh, exactly. Like holding it for like a few seconds like this, it burns huge.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see the heat part is orange flame, orange plasma, but the rest is purpley, pink, blue, which is cold plasma and cold electricity. And there's a huge difference between the two energies and types of electricity specifically.
Yeah, when you get into the plasma stuff, then you have to start worrying about gamma and beta and all that stuff into the microwave frequencies. So Tesla was very much a pioneer of the microwave technology. So yeah, when you get into the plasma physics, you really should know what you're doing, because if you get into the gamma and beta emissions coming off, it actually can be pretty harmful to you. So until you're really familiar with plasma physics and how those how the plasma can be altered into the gamma and the beta, you have to really be careful.
Point in case, when my dad first got us a Geiger counter, I held it up to this guy, and when you get within 2 feet, it just starts going insane. Like within a couple feet of these, it goes up in the hundreds, if not, I think we got to 1,000 almost. It's
because you're
a different type though, right? So
it's different. Yeah, it's picking up electrostatic emissions coming off that, right? So it will affect the Geiger counter. Yeah, the best way to test a Geiger counter is like point it at a rock on the ground, and it's going to pick up if there's any gamma or beta waves embedded. Especially if you're in a formation of rock that's high in iron, iron ore and stuff like that. So yeah, you're starting to get into some pretty complicated electrical engineering and stuff, but anybody who's getting into it first is read Faraday, read Maxwell, listen to a lot of Eric Dollard's stuff. He has a couple of good conferences where it's called Energy Synthesis, and that's a good one to watch because it gives you a kind of an idea of what electricity really is. Now, the big debate was, does electricity flow through a wire? Does it flow around a wire? Well, if you listen to Eric Dollard's lecture, you'll find out that electricity actually flows on the outside of the wire, not in it.
And
So,
there's more
stuff
and
like
more
this.
understanding, teachers and like physicists and electrical engineers that are understanding that, as well as YouTube scientists and whatnot. What's the big one there? Oh, I forget the guy's name. He's got a few million. It'll come to me, but he did an episode on
Dan
it.
Wheeler.
No, it was the one channel did it, and then Eric Dollard did a review of it like a week later and was like, you almost got it, but you're way off this way. Oh, it's gonna come to me. Frick. Oh well, next topic. It will come.
Anyways.
Electricity, it's a field. It doesn't go through the physical mass. It's going in the electromagnetic field around the metal element and wire, not through it.
See, the guys in the past, you know, let's say around 1890s and all that, the guys that were experimenting with, you know, the telegraph system and radio, those are the guys that really understand electricity. If you want to learn about electricity, try to find in your neighborhood or in your community like a radio club where guys build, you know, ham radios and stuff. You will learn stuff you never thought possible. The guy who's an old school ham radio operator, or the guy that's you know, guys out there making crystal radios, those are the guys you want to learn from, because they know the old school fundamentals of electrical engineering. You know, how to build a coil, what's induction, what's capacitance, what's resistance, what's inductance. You're going to learn all these terms. So it's really a lot of homework. You know, like you know, electrical engineering was not my thing. That was
so much.
It is now, because I learned it. You know, I'm learning stuff. I still have a lot to learn. I don't know everything.
You and me both, brother, right? It's
but
sponges.
I've learned,
but we learn more.
I've learned over experience. I build stuff. I'm an experimenter. You know, I build devices and try to analyze them. Sometimes making a device the first time, I got results that I hadn't had the foggiest idea what the hell I was doing or what I was looking at, right? Especially with the pulse motor. When I started using the spark gap switch, I started noticing some interesting anomalies. I was able to charge batteries real fast. Number two, I was getting very, very low amp draw motors. So I was creating a very, very efficient motor. And also I was, you know, with the spark gap switch, I was drawing in negative energy into the system. I didn't know what this stuff was. I had no idea. They don't
even acknowledge it in universities or schools or modern academia or theory, right? So it's like how that when you're experiencing it for the first time and the effects of it, it's like you're learning it all and having to put it together, and then you draw off of other researchers and people's knowledge and their own experiments and experiences that we're having similar results. Well, like, I guess if you trust science and 3 out of 3 people are having the exact same experience or results doing the same tests all over the world at different times and recording it, well, maybe that is the actual case, because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And as for not fully understanding, sorry, Mike, before I let you go on, it's like some of these coils, they're triple solenoid coils with all sorts of different wrappings and numbers, and then I also have different metals other than coil, like or copper solenoid on the outside, but some of them have steel, some of them have zinc, brass, aluminum wires, as well as the inner solenoids. I try to do in series of 9s in my wraps, but it's like I still am just fully grasping the actual electrical engineering aspects of what I've built and what the effects are going to be of these devices once I hooked them up and start experimenting with them, but I built them out of my mind almost a decade ago now, and I've never actually hooked them up to run these tests and stuff yet, because it was like, first I had to learn the actual theory behind it, the science behind it, and then what some of the possible effects could be, because these, from what I've seen, and on Bob Greenier's channel, Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, they're doing very good work, and have shown a couple other researchers that have been starting to experiment with these vortex coils, triple solenoid coils, the toroids, and just putting small amounts of voltage through it, where if I had just hooked it up to something with like 100,000 or 1,000,000 volts off the get-go, I could have exploded my entire home for all you know. And that's the crucial
problem. That's why what I suggest to people when they start getting involved in this stuff, start with the low powered stuff. Okay, start learning how a circuit goes together, you know, what the effects are, what can happen. Like I've blown up so many reed switches, I couldn't count that high, you know, but I learned, you know, how to run a reed switch properly, how to isolate it out of the circuit so it doesn't blow up. So these are things you got to start from square one. You go in baby steps, right? When you start getting into high powered stuff like I've done, very easily I can get killed if I don't watch what I'm doing. And I've had a couple close calls where, you know, I had a capacitor, high voltage capacitor discharge on my body, and it didn't feel too freaking good. I'll tell you that right now. So, you know, even guys that are a little bit more experienced and work with a little bit more high voltage stuff, still something can happen, and you got to be careful and take the precautions so you don't have an accident. Because, like, anybody who's getting into this, I'd stay away from any of the high voltage stuff. Stay away from it because you don't understand what you're dealing with. Start with the simple experiments like making a jewel thief circuit. Make a
absolutely that one is key, also known as a bell ringer.
A jewel ringer, they call it.
I have to say the same for my electrolysis, right? It's like, and thank God I talked to Bob Greenier about it, where, as I suspected, my intuition, but it's like I've never gone over 5 volts that I've put into these electrolysis, because you'll actually have radioactive decay in these cold fusion alchemy transmutations, and people have died because of it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to kill yourself very fast. And to just start with like a 1.5 volt battery when you're first doing it, don't even use AC electricity, sort of thing. Like when even starting little circuits and stuff like that, it's like you start from the ground up. You don't go with the knockout blow the first time, because that's gonna knock you out when you get zapped.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was playing with the HHO stuff in 2005, you know, and I'm playing with hydrogen. You know, it's one of the most explosive gases known to man. And I can make it
in my house and yard every day.
Exactly. So that's why BurnEye makes his experiments outdoors for ventilation purposes.
Exactly.
So stuff like that. You know, always take precaution when you're dealing with elements or electricity, or doing transmutation of objects like BurnEye does in his experiments. Do it outside. Don't do it in the house. You know, that's the last thing you want to do is blow up.
Exactly. Like I do all of my experiments outside, except for the few little ones that I do inside, because for the streams on camera. But it's like I have 2 giant sliding doors and windows wide open the whole time it's running, and I try to run it for a very short time. And anything bigger, or specifically for the purpose of producing the Brown's gas, HHO, hydrogen gases, whatever the aim of each electrolysis project is, it's for those gases. You got to do it in well ventilated, well controlled areas, or things are going to go bad fast.
So to kind of sum everything up here is the educational part. So people that are alive today, the best ones I can recommend is Dollard, Ken Wheeler, I guess you could say Peter Linderman's another good choice. I'm trying to think of the guys that are still alive because some of them are not here anymore. John
Like
Bedini,
Stanley Meyer.
Stanley Meyer, John Bedini. He was another good one. He's no longer here, unfortunately. Him and his brother passed away on the same day, and that was shortly after he revealed the window motor and the zero force motor, which I found out he started designing the zero force motor. Guess what year? 1977. John Bedini was inventing that.
Wow.
He did.
I was unaware.
He released it in 2015. That's how long he
Wow,
kept.
hey?
That's
Life's
how
work that you wait till the very end to do, and then sure enough, they still got him, I guess, eh?
Yep. The year before he died, he released the zero force motor. He was designing it in the 70s. He just released it that year. You realize if he didn't release it and he died, that's
Crazy.
that would be a big loss, And there's been some great inventors that died off, and they basically took their ideas to
Took
the
it
grave.
to the grave.
Yeah, like I know one guy that took it to the grave. Probably the most notorious of all was Floyd Sweet, the VTA, and he just would not let go of his stuff. He would not let go of it. He would not open source it. So all that information, all that great engineering went to the grave.
Lost forever to humanity, and that's the sad part. And thank God that the times are changing, the overall community, humanity, and just society, and that more people are waking up to this reality. More people, like, there's literally like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of small little independent YouTube channels, just like yours and mine, of like just a couple thousand subscribers, but each of them have hundreds of videos of different like free energy projects or just electrical engineering projects, right? And it's not that they're all like gonna power your house or anything like that, but it's discovering, and it's real science, and it's real actual discovery, building, and understanding and learning.
Yeah, Bernie, I think it's time we need a break here.
Yeah, so I was
maybe throw a video on, and we can go for
I was going to ask you, are you able to load it up? Are you on your computer or no?
No,
okay, I'll do it. It should work here. So good call. I'm going to load up one of Mike's most recent videos from his Faraday research channel and play that for everyone. Actually, sorry, no, preloaded right now. First, it was the Science of Sound episode 4 that you were also on from last week, that was supposed to be also live on Link Project last week, but now you get part of it this week. So enjoy.
I'm just going to skip it ahead to the part where I start going over the geoglyphs and the Faram Foundation stuff, because we don't need to see a restream of a restream of a restream. That's just getting way too Inception-y.
So that everybody can enjoy and see what comes next. And I'm going to show and share some of the Faram Foundation alternative history research. It goes into geoglyphs extensively, actually. Faram has Professor Faram, I believe, and he has decoded what is, I believe, to be the ultimate lost ancient civilization rewriting of history, and cracks the ancient codes using what he calls these geoglyphs, which are essentially megalithic not necessarily structures, but lines of megalithic stones, megalithic arrangements of giant megalithic stones that are put in certain lengths and at certain angles that then, when recorded and measured and plotted onto a global map of the Earth, literally plug the length and the angles from the site that these geoglyphs are recorded, these megalithic structures, and plotted in to Google Earth. And the ancients had this technology and understanding of, sorry guys, it only works on a spherical globe Earth, does not work on the flat Earth model, although I am open to everything in a discussion about it. This particular ancient system that the ancients must have been able to figure out and plot correctly, because you can take these measurements from Google or into Google Earth, and literally each of these geoglyph sites, which first off I'll be showing the Medicine Hat Badlands geoglyphs, and where they map out to, map out the entire ancient civilizations around the world from each site, whether it's Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada, close to where I live, or the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt, as well as the Yanaguni structures, the sunken pyramid-like megalithic structures off the furthest southern island of Japan, or Yanaguni Island. There's these pyramidal structure 400 feet below the water, where he's also found the geoglyphs, as well as the Bosnian pyramids that some try to debunk, but the geoglyphs also appear there, as well as in Giza Plateau in Egypt, and so many other sacred ancient sites. And his theory, he concludes, proves that the pyramids, the Sphinx, and so many of these ancient sites are much older than current academia claims, and that the evidence is when when they were actively used throughout the different catastrophe time periods of mankind. And that, for instance, the Yanaguni structure, as well as the Bosnian pyramids and several others, stop appearing in more recent geoglyph sites, such as I believe Mexico City or Teotihuacan, one of, or several of them. Anywho, I'll stop bumbling on and instead share what I am talking about for everyone to see. Hopefully this works. Here we go. Oh, why does it keep doing this? Sorry, 1 second. Once again, not sharing for the StreamYard. Bear with me, everyone. I will.
So, new news today. I met the Minister of Education of Alberta, and he gave me his email, and I approached him about hydrogen fuel technology research. And yeah, I'm going to email him and see how it goes.
Medicine Hat geoglyphs. So this famous, what believed to be indigenous North American Indian head, a second what looks like Celtic head above the native figure, and then to the right what looks like an Olmec face, and further right of that what could be a second Olmec face staring at the first Olmec face. So 4 faces in this picture. Just making sure. Okay, you guys can see it. Well, so that is a picture from space. And let's see if I can get it up for the YouTubers too. So you guys have a chance to know what the heck I'm talking about. There we go. Perfect. Up we go. Okay. All right. Hopefully it works. If not, I'm going to shut off the other one right away. But it looks like Leak Project is getting this. So that's the first pick of the 4 of them. So Aztec Chieftain is what Faram believes. And then the Olmec image compared to this guy, the stone head. And then this is the, oh, I'll leave it up so you guys can read that for a second. And I will share the link in the comments for everyone. And unos momentos. So then that is the dragon head, the second head here, chieftain. So that's a 5th head in this area. So this is essentially the same sort of scale and terraforming as the Nazca, Peru, like the lines and the images from above, as these were satellite images or plane images, I believe. That's a big road going next to the chieftain there. And the geoglyphs. So in this picture, the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the sites of these megalithic stones that he then gets the lines for. And as I scroll through, so those are the megalithic stone lines. That's a space image of it, but his measurements of the degrees and the lengths of them in the first site. Sorry guys, as I'm jumping back and forth quickly, so both Zoom as well as StreamYard are seeing this. So for that first site, is it glyph 1? Okay, wherever glyph 1 was, oh, off the crown there, the spike, I see. And then this is plotted out on the map, which the radials then go to, for instance, Mexico City, Baja California, the Grand Canyon, Hawaiian Islands. These radials are all mapped out from megalithic stone lines in southern Alberta, Canada, where I live. And at each of the geoglyph sites are these radials and lines that plot out to these different places around the world. And he goes through in this Faram research site. He's written several books. He's a professor, and he documents in detail each of these ancient sites, such as Yanaguni, such as in Japan, the Bosnian pyramids, obviously in Bosnia, Herzegovina. He does several of the sites in the US. He does Egypt, pyramids, and many, many others that I'll show some of before we switch these topics. So here's another one of these measurements, Geoglyph 3 site. And my goal this summer is to travel down to the Medicine Hat Badlands in Alberta, southern Alberta, which is about 100 kilometers, maybe 150 kilometers tops from where I currently live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I could be even less than that. It's been a while since I've been down there. Anywho, and Alberta and Canada, very, very large. Regardless, I want to go find these stone lines in person and see these megalithic sites myself. to verify that they are there, as well as take my drone and hopefully be able to get some drone footage and get it up high enough to somewhat see if we can recreate or get a little image of these faces, because that would be absolutely awesome and one heck of a great time in confirming that it all exists. So that's Geoglyph 3 radials. So this is 5 different radial sets, all just from the Medicine Hat, Alberta site that going all over. So France connects to Cairo, Egypt, Ireland, all over the US, more in Mexico. And it's these giant ancient territories, essentially, of these ancient civilizations that were clearly ocean-faring, global, advanced civilizations of the far antiquity. This is pre-Younger Dryas. This would be the very supposed times of Atlantis, maybe even back to the time of Lemuria, but for modern timeline epoch, 12,000 years minimum before the Younger Dryas catastrophe event of the oceans rising 400 feet around 12,000 years ago, corresponding also with Plato's fabled, famous Atlantis story, which also went under the sea supposedly 12,000 years ago. And I'm just scrolling for both sites here. You guys can see there. Back to the main one. All right, multitasking. So next time, to prevent this issue and to be able to get the videos to play both on StreamYard and my YouTube, as well as Leak Project and Zoom, I am just going to stream the Leak Project itself to my YouTube, and we'll try that out on the next one and hopefully have better results. Anywho, going down, Geoglyph 4, Geoglyph 5 radials. This one going through mostly the US spots, but all huge, huge spots. And how long ago of an ancient civilization, these Medicine Hat Badlands specifically, comparable to the Nazca in Peru, but the time frame that these would have had to been made in would also most likely be minimum pre-Younger Dryas, if not much, much older, for their, because there's no documentation or even recognition of this culture, society, and whoever the heck terraformed entire valleys and whatnot in Alberta, supposedly at that time was under an ice sheet. So it might have even had to be pre-Ice Age before. So it would have been a civilization before the Ice Age that preceded the Younger Dryas 12,000 years ago. So that might even be 40, 50, 60,000 years prior that there could have been a mass civilization in this region of North America, southern Alberta, western Canada, to have been able to build these giant earthworks, I guess, monuments. Yeah, monuments would be a good description of it, that you can only see from above. Space, maybe airplanes. We'll see if the drone can get high enough. But yeah, so this conclusion of the area mapped out by the 5 geoglyph sites in the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians, plotted out on a map of the Earth right here, where you can see that in these stones, measured in Alberta from a sacred site and structures, buildings, monuments that aren't even recognized officially by academia or the world today, but clearly are real and not just a case of pareidolia. these geoglyphs map out megalithic structures, map out from southern Alberta, Hawaii, Mexico City, throughout. Oh, I guess yeah, no, that's still Mexico right there. Sorry, yeah. The Yucatan Peninsula there it runs through. Looks like it goes through Cuba, all the way over to West Africa, the Horn of Africa there, running through Libya and Egypt, and all the way up to Iceland, Greenland there, running through Europe, Bosnian pyramids, everything. And this is in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. Supposedly just a giant ice sheet, never had advanced civilizations at any point in time. So this is just one of Faram Research's paradigm shifting work, and extensive work. So right here, he's got the Google map pin location coordinates for you. Sorry guys, in StreamYard. We'll catch up here in the scrolling for everybody. Ooh, we got some comments. I'm getting stuck. All right. Radials, the map, and the conclusion of it. So that is what I was talking about for the size that it maps out. And this is pre-Yangadraya's catastrophe that it maps out this territory. Now, to show you, oh, can I get back to the main site? Oh, so this is his book, The Ancient Secret of the Old World. Arthur Faram. Unbelievable, unrecognized, world-class, world paradigm shifting, and should be recognized researcher, professor, and author, Arthur Faram. I do need to get me a copy of that book. All right, how do I get back to the main site here? Camera. Where's the link to the main? Sorry, everyone. Oh, there we go. That's one. Does it work? Did it work? Loading time. Come on. Oh, no bandwidth. Can't even load a basic YouTube channel, or not even YouTube, website channel. Website page. Wow. Stuttering. All right. Let's see. Oh, StreamYard guys might get it first. Let's. No. Nope. Definitely not. All right, loaded on the main one. So this is Faram Foundation's main website being displayed on Leak Project right now, trying to load it up for YouTube. Hey, Scratch, how you doing, brother? Good to see you, my friend. Long time no see. All right, mumbling on here. Ooh, am I gonna make it work? Because YouTube's gonna get it too. All right, so main Faram website. Here he literally has probably 60 or 70 different sites, pyramids around the world that he has deciphered the geoglyphs of. and done extensive research and work on, including the pyramid in Antarctica, it looks like. Let's see what is on. So all of these links here on the main site, website spelt TheFaram Foundation.com. The Foundation.com. That's what we are looking at. So on the left side, each of these links, whether the Yanaguni pyramid, Bosnian pyramid, we just looked at the Badlands Guardian geoglyphs. He's also got the Indonesian pyramids, ancient city of Caral, Peru, the historic Maitland Tower, Kensington Runestone, Newport Tower, Karnak Stones, Nazca Star. Each of these sites are linked to an extensive write-up and work on each of those specific areas that Faram has decoded the geoglyphs and mapped the geoglyphs out for. So for instance, let's click on the Bosnian pyramid one. And why I have so much respect for him and all the work that he's done is that he's found not just this commonality between all of these sites that supposedly are just natural formations, but instead proven an extremely advanced global society, building, technology, and the rest of it that essentially vindicate and prove each one of these sites, including the Bosnian pyramids, which many try to debunk and say aren't real, but sure enough, they also have the same geoglyphs, global mapping, and the rest of it that he has deciphered. So that is one of the Bosnian pyramids with his markings. Get YouTube caught up with it. Here we go. Let that load for you guys. It does. All right. I need better computer equipment. Anywho. All right, so this is the Pyramid of the Sun, and those are his angles of it. He estimates 32,000 BCE. So that is essentially 34,000 years ago for the construction of the Bosnian pyramid that Faram has concluded out of the representations of other sites, sacred sites that are plotted in the geoglyphs. So for instance, say like New York City or something like that, it might just have appeared a couple hundred years or a couple thousand years, depending on what research you're looking in. Who knows what the heck the official time is, but relatively recent compared to something like the Bosnian pyramids. So something in around the 13 colonies that he found there that was a couple thousand years old, or newer New World civilization monuments compared to the Medicine Hat Badland New World ancient ruined geoglyphs and monuments that, for instance, the Badland Guardians only reference other ancient things like Yanaguni that sunk or the Bosnian pyramids compared to something around the new ones that only reference new ones, as well as well-recognized ones like the Giza Plateau pyramids or Luxor right here, which is still being referenced in the Bosnian pyramid. but it's that none of the newer ones are referenced in these Bosnian pyramid geoglyphs, and why he believes it's got to be at least 32,000 or BCE of their creation time, and that one of the spots that these radials go to, he's showing this is in Central America on the northern tip of South America, that there's this giant depression and spots where he sees that there must have been way more land that then sunk, because there was crater north of South America. So this giant crater here, because there was pyramid radials, that these ancient spots like the Sun Pyramid of Bosnian pyramids, as well as Luxor, Egypt, point to this spot that is no longer land, no longer existing civilization or structures, and buried beneath the sea in a rather suspicious manner, clearly showing a massive crater and some sort of ancient catastrophe that wiped out whatever was there. So I'll let everyone read this little area while I load it for everyone else listening over on YouTube. Oh yeah, loaded. All right. Sorry, Scratch, if you're not a mod yet, I will make you a mod, and anybody that's not a mod on my channel, I'll make you all mods when I get a second. Might have to be after the stream. I'll see. I'm having bandwidth with issues. Anywho, back to the presentation. So, see the Pyramid of the Sun, its radials, where it's broadcasting to, and here is that crater in Central America, and its explanation up on screen for them to read. And now we proceed. All right, so north tip of British Isles, North Utland, got southern border of Russia. See, this is another extremely fascinating aspect, is these ancient territories mapped out from these different centers of civilizations. And this Bosnian pyramid here, that according to him 35,000-ish years old, at least minimum before the Younger Dryas event, kind of like in Turkey there, oh wow, I can't think of it right now, that other spot that archaeology finally acknowledged as being 12,000 or 11,000 years old, that they dug up the hills, they were buried. It'll come to me, the name. Anyways, it's at least 12,000 years old, pre-cataclysm, most likely time before during Atlantis or Lemuria or whatever the heck, at least a golden age cycle or main time cycle through whatever the heck our grand solar cycle is, or grand universal cycle, galactic cycle, the precession of time. Anywho, the time before time, the society, ancient, beyond advanced, super society before our current one, before the insane cataclysm that was the Younger Dryas, the Bosnian pyramids here, and it maps out exactly the southern border of Russia today. So how is it that modern empires and human civilizations have the exact same border as what this ancient civilization's territory border also was? And I went in before on this topic when we covered the Yanaguni one, and I'll show it before this stream ends as well, but I talked with Rex before when me and Campbell did our 2-part series, that the Yanaguni pyramid geoglyphs and radials map out specifically also to the territory that was held by the Japanese Empire during World War II, its largest area of control, and everywhere they attacked, and controlled by, in their peak, World War II Japan Empire. Same exact radial territory plotted out in Yanaguni's geoglyphs, the pyramid that is 400 feet below the ocean and was also a ancient timed civilization empire before. It's truly mind-boggling. So we'll scroll through a little bit more. Here we go. Now, YouTube's kitchen. What the heck was I talking about? Now, y'all get to see. Here we go, right there. East southern border of Russia, right there between the Caspian and the Black Seas. Essentially where I think Georgia and Armenia and whatnot are in that area right there, between the two. Same area. Does that include Bimini, Bernie? We will go back and see. I think he does actually have Bimini in this. I do believe you are correct in that prediction. Here, let's see. Is this the one we're on? Are we fine? There we go. All right. Okay, let's see. Radials, theory, and important points defined by the 3 Bosnian pyramid radials circa 9500 BC. 40-degree. Okay, yeah, so the 40-degree radial in this geoglyph points to the Moscow city geoglyph. Oh, so the Bosnian pyramid also points to Moscow city's geoglyph, which if it's 36,000 years old, when it first was put into this map in pyramid building, then that means Moscow would be the same age, essentially. Crazy. For alternative history and blowing one's mind with tangible, actual evidence and cracking the ancient code, truly, this is the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. Faram Foundation, thefaramfoundation.com. Just gotta keep it scrolling the same for both. Sorry, everyone. It will be better next time. And this being about a 5 or 10 minute warning for YouTube that I will be ending the YouTube stream because I'm going to be sharing more videos on leakproject.com Zoom. So when I do end the YouTube stream in about 10 minutes here, 5-10 minutes, then you can continue watching the rest of this presentation and display solely at Leak Project. Or what did Rex say? Another hour? Should we do another hour, or what are you thinking, Rex Bear? Are you needing to go to bed? Should we? How long have we been going? 12 o'clock. Oh. Okay. Well, in that case, Rex is saying bed. So why not? In that case, it's reversed. I'll keep going on Crypto Alchemist YouTube channel. So everyone, League Project, feel free to come on over. Much love to you, Rex Bear, if you want to come on and
Bosnian pyramid geoglyph mapping out where the radials go at what time. Supposedly, he says it's 36,000 BCE that they were around. So one specifically goes to Moscow from Bosnia from around 40,000 years ago. And encoded in these Bosnian pyramids that are literal mountain pyramids in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Here they are. One more of the radials mapping out. Went into more depth of this earlier if you're just catching up now. But the point being that supposedly with the best interpretation of this insane discovery and deciphering of these geoglyphs and the maps that they make and all of these ancient megalithic monument constructions, that these mountain pyramids in Bosnia from 40,000 years ago pointed to the southern boundary of Russia, of modern day Russia, 40,000 years ago, and that it somehow this pre-antediluvian, pre-Younger Dryas civilization, global world civilization from many resets ago, most likely, had the same borders as we do today, essentially. And just to add to it even more and keep you guys and gals and everyone fascinated, because it's talking about old world Moscow, potentially 40,000 years ago, he brings up, well, look at that. We have one heck of a citadel star city of Moscow, and beautiful that he goes into interpreting it. And that is going to be a show with me and Campbell and Olaf the Sverker all on its own. Anywho, from the Moscow radials, look at this. So the geoglyphs in old Moscow in the street design, so it's like through these streets, he takes the angles and the distances and puts it out. Wow, all the way to the Kuril Islands, to the boundary of China, modern day China, and not to Japan. It stops at Japan at the Okasawa, at the Kuril there. Just, it's still modern day Russia's current boundaries. And this is in supposedly geoglyphs from 40,000 years ago in Moscow, or at least 9,500 years BC. So 11,500-year-old potential geoglyphs from the Moscow. Oh, maybe, sorry, stage the, okay, it's top of Bosnian pyramid. We're back to the Bosnian pyramid, I guess. So isn't that just fascinating, though? That, so look at this. So back to this baby. I gotta download this one. Let's see. And so Russia, exact same boundaries from both Moscow geoglyphs as well as the Bosnian pyramid mountain geoglyphs. And if that hasn't blown your mind enough, so this is like the Prussian, Hungarian, European, or the EU, essentially. Look at that. That is the EU boundary right now. Look, so, wow. So the Bosnian pyramid geoglyph thing essentially maps out the modern EU, essentially, and then Moscow is its same old ones. And look at that beautiful piece of Antiquitech that Faram has included in his studies, Russia, European border marking. Yeah, like, so look at that. So it's Tartarian Antiquitech as you can get. And I would love to interview and talk to Arthur Faram one day, because he is one heck of a discoverer, archaeologist, anthropologist, researcher, and true academic in the real sense of the word, not in the false. He's what Bob Greenier is to real cold fusion and physics and electrical engineering and modern academia in cold fusion, we'll just say, as Arthur Faram is to real, actual alternative history archaeology and his geoglyph discoveries. So if you didn't have your mind blown with that, just you wait another 30 seconds, because that's not all I have lined up for you. Can you still hear me, or am I very weak in voice? Here we go. So now this is the Yanaguni one, I guess. So this is Yanaguni pyramid itself, of course. 400 feet underwater Yanaguni pyramid. Hopefully you can all hear me. I know it's probably a little bit weaker. Sorry, I'm on the other computer, guys. So Yanaguni location east of Taiwan. It's the southernmost island of the Japanese islands in country. This is a diagram from above. A diagram from above of the Yanaguni structure that is 400 feet below the sea level, also the southernmost Yanaguni island of Japan. Now, most people in this community are looking into alternative history, or if you've seen the Yanaguni pyramid before, then you've seen this archaeological rendering of the overall structure. And now, to blow y'all minds, let's geoglyph it and see what Faram has deciphered out of these walls. So he literally measures the walls and the angles of the lengths of the walls or the carvings of this structure. And that's where he's pulling these measurements out of, that he's mapping out onto the globe, that literally aligns and points directly to each of these other sacred ancient sites everywhere and creating these territories. So this is Japan's underwater pre-Yangadryas, 400 feet down pyramid structure, and it's deciphering by Faram. So he plotted the hell out of it. And look at all those places that it maps out to. Sweet dreams, Victoria Freeman, and to you all. Thanks everyone who watches this, who's here now, or partaken, or partakes at some point in the future. All right, so right here, there's these are the radials of the geoglyphs of the Yanaguni pyramid structure mapped out. And so that it's all coming from that little point that is just to the east of Taiwan, which is the sunken 400 feet down off of the southernmost tip of the Yanaguni Island, which is the southernmost island of the current Japanese nation of Japan, which coincidentally, we saw that Moscow radial mapped out right before this, and how there was I believe it's called the Kuril Islands. Pretty sure. Anywho, fought over between Japan and Russia during World War II, and Russia won the back and are Russian to this day. And anywho, it's the exact same territory mapped out. And if you can see in this Japanese Yanaguni map, it goes all the way to the tip of Hawaii, which, well, they did attack that during World War II at their height. And it's, let me get a little bit bigger picture for everyone to see of the next map. Get a better understanding idea of what the hell I'm talking about. So right here. Look at this. This is the territory held by the Empire of Japan during World War II at the height, and it is identical, straight right up to the Kuril Islands there, through the coast of China, down through Thailand, and back up, and trying to take out where they got Midway, and then trying to take out Hawaii and trying to reclaim it. That same territory right there, as mapped out in right here. I wish this was larger and that you could see it. It also discludes, it goes around this ancient part, it goes around Korea. They never attempted to get Korea. It was not part of this Japanese territory. But in this Yanaguni structure mapping, it literally got Papua New Guinea down there, almost to the Solomon Islands. Doesn't actually touch Australia, but goes all the islands along there through Indonesia, Thailand, and whatnot. And yeah, it's just mind-boggling indeed, how it is. And then here's some geoglyphs off of Taiwanese island. So just this would be just west of the Yanaguni structure and island. Are these other geoglyphs that he's found under the ocean, just off the coast of Taiwan island. And there are also these same radials going through, confirming part of it. So just absolutely fascinating that throughout a full epoch of the grand cycle of 26,000 years through the heavens and the oh my goodness, it's a Bach tune, it's the tilt of the earth, the precession, there we go, an entire precession of time has changed, and yet the boundaries of these territories and different empires remains the exact same and being fought over and existing to this day. The exact, it's just, it blows my mind, and I don't know if it hasn't blown yours. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, like, I'm going to post a link for everyone because please, we all need to look into it more. And once you get onto it, it's a rabbit hole that just kind of stays with you. So let's end that share, and we will end things off.
It's light particles. Andy Besant and Charles Leadbeater looked at 9 different levels. They called them levels. In 1898, they didn't have any idea what a hologram was. So when they went and remote viewed, they saw one phase of the light particles, and as they shifted, they didn't go down, they shifted, and they were looking at a hologram. Because that's what we are. We're light that is compressed by harmonic tones from the sun and from the earth, and compresses the light particles in the molecule, and they move in a holographic type of manner. We are light at the molecular level. There is no such thing as an atom, a proton, and a neutron or electron. They simply don't exist. And those persons who believe that are now, has nothing to do with scientific framework or references. It is a religious belief because there is absolutely no proof whatsoever that there is an atom, electron, or a neutron. It is purely theory. But if you want to find out that we're light or not, go pound some metals, copper and silver and gold. After you pound them and you stop pounding, the colors go back to their normal colors after 6 hours. Mass spec, mass spectrometer, what is it? They place an element or a substance in a contained area and give it with a vaporized heat. Treat it to a vaporized heat. What happened? What's the heat doing? It is negating the harmonic tones, holding the hologram together. As that occurs, then the light escapes, and that is how you identify an element is by color, by a color spectrum. And the reason being is because the harmonic tones have been negated, that is holding the hologram together, and the light particles escape. So 2 tests, pounding it, and also what's interesting is when you do pound those elements and that color of purple, it's exactly that of a mass spec. They're identical. So hydrogen of being a red or light red, and your uranium having a purple hue to it, and being all those light particles being condensed. Be on it for 48 hours. There's a guy, The Nature of Substance. I cannot say is a German name, Hauschka, and it documents that very well in that book. Recommend The Nature of Substance. What is now also interesting that I bring up into the book is
she takes a picture, and in that picture is this ET. He puts the camera over in that direction, and everyone looking in that direction at that moment saw it. You can make contact with these civilizations, and you do not need the government. And that's
Yes, I did. Okay, so now we are looking at, you can't see it too well there, but we're looking at Group VA, or Group 5A, in the table of elements in chemistry. You have in this group the elements of nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, dysphysrum, and bismuth. When you take antimony and bismuth and you mix them together and you heat them, an electric current is created. This has mystified alchemists and chemists for years. What's going on? Where is the electric current coming from in bismuth and in antimony when you mix it together? What I contend is that the table of elements, as we know them, are a compilation of tones. Nitrogen has one harmonic tone and one set of colors. Phosphorus is a combination of nitrogen and phosphorus. So you do not get phosphorus until you have both the elements or the light particles of phosphorus and the harmonic tones of phosphorus. And also nitrogen. So it's now a compilation of 2. Your arsenic is 3. The antimony is 4, and it goes all the way up to bismuth of 5. So now where does the electric current come from? What I feel is happening is when the bismuth and the antimony are mixed together and heated, the nitrogen is no longer a chemical element as we know it. The chemical elements of the light particles are traveling below 186,000 miles per second. Above the speed of light, as we know, is a tachyon, which moves together in two, kind of like a caduceus coil. It's not a tachyon. It is suspended between the chemical element state and a tachyon, and it's really high energy. Electricity is the primary gases that are not in a tachyon state, nor are they in a chemical element state. The Earth's atmosphere is made up of 75% nitrogen. There are certain types of harmonic tones coming from the sun with vortexing. That vortex of energy then would have a certain type of ion field, which is created by a cloud. That ion field is created in a vortex type of manner from the harmonic tones coming from the sun. And this can happen in a matter of instances of seconds. The vortex then forms and then starts to collapse. The same thing that occurred in the antimony and the bismuth, where it is suspended, the same thing occurs as the vortex starts to collapse. The nitrogen is now put in between the tachyon state and the chemical element state and becomes a lightning bolt. Becomes a lightning bolt. Electricity is the primary gases suspended between a tachyon state and a chemical element state. We also have, like in Texas, they have a thing called, around the world, ball lightning. But it only occurs at a very, within 100 feet of the Earth. And that's basically where it's a huge ball of lightning, which I feel is then oxygen. Because it's real structured, oxygen is very structured. It's again suspended between this tachyon state and the chemical element state. Yes, question. Okay, well, why don't we do it afterwards then? Let's go ahead. Okay, go ahead, and we can talk about that later, okay? Well, what I was, right? I totally 100% agree, but at the same time, though, give you time at the end of it to go ahead and disagree. Okay. Okay. This also, again, yeah, I don't have it in my book as far as color. If we go ahead and go back to the camera on the projector here, Larry, go projector. So again, now with this color spectrum of hydrogen being a red or even an infrared, phosphorus, orange, yellow, and the uranium being a deep purple, following your color spectrum. Also now, we have here, as we said, that there is a compilation of tones. When the Earth was first formed, there is what I feel was called a low-grade gold, which means that there's one line that's missing here. In the group that's under gold is sodium, copper, silver, samarium, and gold. So when the Earth was first formed, there was a per se low-grade gold form of gold. I need a drink. So Annie Besant and Charles Leadbeater were fascinated by what they saw in gold. So much so that they devoted a whole section of their book of occult chemistry to gold. Now, what was interesting about what they discovered in gold, which I feel what they had tuned into, which is also the limitations of remote viewing, is that they tuned into what I feel is called high-grade gold. What did they find in their gold? First off, they found also all of the sodium through gold signatures, but they also found the signature of iron, of titanium, bromine, and iodine. How did all that get in there? That really kind of confused me there for a while. But then when I shifted my thinking from being that of an electron atom to being light particles, then it started making sense. All high-grade gold mine areas are, at one time within the last million years, you have a combination of volcanoes and a seabed. Cripple Creek, Colorado is an example. The mountains of Southern California, Alaska is where you had a volcano activity and you had an ancient seabed. So you had to have a combination of a couple of things. What are the two major, or actually there's three major crystals that are found around most high-grade gold mines? Amethyst and titanium, or what they call also a milky type of crystal. What's in the milk and also what's in the amethyst, what makes amethyst per se purple is the heat, but also amethyst is this element inside of it is magnetite, which is also iron. So now we have the iron that the Annie Besant and Charles Leadbeater saw, and the pink in rose quartz. It comes again from the heat, but also the element inside of rose quartz is titanium. So now you had the volcano blow up. It now had a rolling into the ocean, towards the ocean, and picking up various types of crystals, the rose quartz, the amethyst, etc. And again, we're not talking where, I-5 at this time was existing. We're talking about, crystals were probably right on top of the surface at that time for the various lots of volcanic activity, rolls down the side of the volcano and into the ocean. So now, as the lava starts to form up, now all these crystals are being crushed and they're giving off their light particles. So now where's the bromine and the iodine come from? Kelp. So now the kelp is encased inside of the volcanic ash. And probably there's some degassing going on, so it's like an air bubble, so it's not being totally burned up. And what's interesting then too is the element of bromine, however you want to pronounce it. According here to the chart, here is your gold, 180 degrees opposite exactly of gold is bromine. So now the light particles are being crushed from the crystals. You have the iodine already present. You also have the copper and the silver and the samarium already present also. You probably have some low-grade type of gold that's present there too. And the new grade of gold forms along the bromine. Hence, there's a new, it forms. We now have a crystal form of gold. It's another form of crystal. So it's forming along the bromine.
You're saying that the gold was put out by the volcano and then formed up into...
And again, it was giving off the light particles, and the new gold started to form along the bromine, which is in the kelp.
Where did the gold come from?
It is now, there was no gold it was low-grade gold, but now we're talking about a high-grade gold. And the light particles given off by the crystals of titanium in the rose quartz and in the amethyst, where now the light particles are being collected and started to form on the molecules. The molecules started to form together along the bromine. And so hence, why do gold mine fields, they have all these random patterns that don't make any sense at all. What they're doing is following the kelp. You have nuggets, and your kelp has nodules on it, and those nodules can get as big as your fist in Alaska. The farther north you go and the colder water you get, the bigger the nodules are in kelp, and the bigger, hence, the nuggets.
Would it make more sense for the gold to have been in the magma being excreted by the volcano? That would be consistent with a lot of the other theory that's around.
Now, again, Discover Magazine, which we'll get into in just a moment, also kind of backs up what I'm saying. So basically what you need, what I feel for high-grade gold, is you have to have two ingredients. You have to have a volcano and you have to have a seabed. And then the volcano exploding, the magma coming down, encasing, most likely the new gold is formed, I feel, within 2 to 4 months, and it follows all these random type of patterns. Just so happened I was in a gold mine 2 days ago in California, and you look at the veins, and the veins have this swirl to them, just as if it was the ash and etc., or the plume was turning and churning. In fact, what they call as a star pattern in gold mines is because it has this random pattern, but it's like churned, which would follow as the lava came down, hit it, and churned it. So again, this is somewhat per se of a proof, etc., or indication. It's not proof, but it's indication again that we are light at the molecular level, and that the Earth is constantly regenerating itself, and that in the beginnings there was probably simple elements, but volcanoes then and the activity make more complex type of elements. There are simple elements and there's more of a complex or high grade type of elements. I feel that the heat has something to do with it. I feel it's because the
Philosopher's Stone monoatomic gold fever.
3 or 4 weeks after,
Or it should take your fever away
so
if you do it
heat
right.
has something to do with it, but not as much as the pressure.
Prayers
Pressure is
are
on
with
those crystals to
you
give
all
up those
for
light particles, and then
you
those
and your
light particles
families
then
for
form the
great
new
health
gold
and
along the
peace be with you
bromine
all.
inside of the kelp. So also,
so let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts.
in nature, there are just so many types of light particles and harmonic tones that can come together. And when there are so many light particles packed into a molecule, then the harmonic tones start to become distorted. And as this process of the volcano is constantly churning and moving types of various elements and etc. all together and putting them together, then the harmonic tones from the sun and the earth, because of the presence of the light particles, they start to become distorted. And as they're distorted, then the light particles start to come out in very high angle, high velocities, etc. And this is basically also the foundation of radioactive. What does a Geiger counter do? And so radioactivity is where there is so much packed into a molecule it can't hold it. And then the harmonic tones holding it together become distorted. And that's the foundation for radioactivity. Question?
That is going to conclude it for tonight's ReStream.
First question is alchemy.
Oh,
Transmutation of
probably
elements,
stop that. There we go. Yeah, I have to go. I love you all. What happened today? I got to meet the education minister of Alberta, and I approached him about possible grant money for hydrogen fuel research, and he gave me his contact and was like, approach me. And then he turned around and he was like, hydrogen is an integral part of Alberta's economy future, or energy future. And I was like, beautiful. And then a former teacher of mine came up to me and recognized me and disclosed to me that he's retired from one of the major energy companies, corporates in Calgary, and that they had the company's biggest fear, quote unquote, was someone developing a little black box in their backyard that would produce unlimited energy, unquote. And that they had actually, he gave me a name of one guy to look up. I got his contact as well. I'm going to be talking to him in the future here. But that they actually went down and they've reproduced a few of these devices and have actually achieved decent over unity results from reproducing them. It was just a matter of feasibility of scaling up for industrial use and whatnot. But that he himself also had patents for a specific high temperature piston motor for is like a vehicle able to run hydrogen fuel motor for the standard vehicles. So engine, there we go. And yeah, so this is going to be interesting times to come. I love all of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's build these water-powered cars and plasma propulsion scooters and orbs and discs and to the moon and beyond. Let's make it happen. I love you all. Have a good night, a good day. We'll see you on the next one.